This is the 17th season of Bass Talk Live with your hosts, Mark Jeffries and Matt Pingrak. BTL is brought to you by Lawrence, Bass Cat Boats, AFTCO, Duckett Fishing, Strike King Lures, Sunline, Big Bite Baits, Spro, X-Zone Lures, Yamagatsu, The Bass Tank, and Denali Rods. BTL coming at you. Good Tuesday, everybody. Welcome once again to another edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where Matt and I are going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, big news coming down yesterday. Somebody is riding off into the sunset, going into retirement mode.
Mr. Akin.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Chase Anderson kind of holds down the reins for a little while, who they go after to take Bruce's place. I know there have been several dramatic changes since Bruce took over the reins. What was it, 10 years ago, I think?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out exactly how long it was. I think that's about right.
Yeah, I think it was 10 years ago. And I know sponsorships have been added, the Fox deal, the advent of live coverage on the water. So a lot of stuff went down during the Akin's reign.
10 years.
Right. Yeah, 10 years. So it'll be interesting to see who they replace with Bruce and kind of what direction they go. But Bruce did a good job. He had a lot of challenges. Obviously, the split and several other things have taken place during his 10-year reign.
Yeah, so just as someone who has not spent a lot of time in the business world, what did Bruce Akin do for Bass? What does a CEO do, and how does that affect me as a Bass Nation angler, as a Bassmaster Open angler? How does it affect, you see what I'm saying there? For the average person, because I would venture to say, well, if you're in the industry and you follow it, you do know who Bruce Akin is. But I would say the vast majority of people who are Bass members don't know who Bruce Akin is just on the day-to-day operate. Yeah. Would you agree with that?
Well, it's like any other corporate environment. Yeah, there's little subtle changes in different companies. You have CEOs that are at the forefront of the company. Right. But you saw Bruce at weigh-ins every now and then. Yeah. Obviously, you saw him at the Bassmaster Classic. He was an integral part of the relationships that he had with the sponsors. But I think the biggest key to a successful CEO is making sure that you have the right people in place to do the goals and objectives that you're trying to accomplish as a company. In other words, you're not micromanaging. You're trusting the people that you have in place, be it sales, be it marketing, be it tournament staff, whatever the category is that you've placed people to oversee those areas. The better people you have in those positions, the better the company is. And I think they've got a lot of pretty decent people in positions that made Bruce's job a little bit easier.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did it say there that Chase Anderson's going to be taking over the day-to-day jobs now? I'm looking at it.
I think so. It wasn't crystal clear, but I think it was interpreted, or could be interpreted that way.
Chase Anderson will be assuming responsibility for the organization's day-to-day operations and serving as CEO.
Yeah.
So does that mean if that's long-term, or does that mean they're on the lookout for a new CEO then?
It means they didn't say.
Okay. So what makes a good, what would, in your opinion, Mark, make a good CEO for bass? What do they need right now in this climate and time in professional bass fishing? What would be the gold standard?
Top two things. One, you got to be a leader. All right. You have to be a leader. You have to have leadership characteristics in whatever organization that you're in. The second thing is you have to be a communicator. All right. Those two things are probably the two biggest skill set. Obviously, anybody that has a background in finance or accounting, you're going to have that ability to crunch the numbers and make sure that everybody abides by, from a budgetary standpoint, how much you can spend, how much revenue is necessary, all the financial management. But I think the big key to a leadership position such as a CEO is, how do they communicate and how good are their leadership skills, not only inside the organization, but outside the organization too. And I'm not talking about somebody that needs to be in the face of everybody all the time. It's that presence of leadership that exists in the organization and with the companies in the industry.
So how important is a deep understanding of professional bass fishing and the outdoors in this, or is it not?
It is, but it isn't. Okay. Yes, I think you have to have a basic understanding of professional fishing, but more importantly, I think you have to have a really good understanding of what your fan base is, what your consumer base is, which is the membership, and really understand what the brand representation of those four letters mean inside the organization, to the fans, to the anglers, and to the industry.
Dumb questions that I just asked?
No. I think it's very valid, and I'm kind of one of those knuckleheads that are really going to be intrigued to see if they do hire anybody, who that hire is going to be. Mm-hmm. Is it going to be within the industry? Are they going to go outside the industry? Because remember, Bruce really didn't have any background in tournament organizations or anything like that.
The guy was getting up, going to fish for his local club every day for 30 years.
Yeah. But, the other thing is everything hasn't been perfect, and it's never perfect in any organization. Heck, it's never perfect here at BTL and everything that we've been involved with for the last, zillion years. But the ability to learn from either mistakes or success that you've had over those period of time, I think that's going to help them either keep Chase in place or really drive the selection process in whoever they select to be the CEO.
There you go.
Yeah. So we'll see. Really, really interested in seeing what goes down. All right, great show today. We're going to have Ott DeFoe. Geez, I knew I was going to do that. Look, man, first time I said it, already screwed it up.
We need to just have Ott and John Sokup on the same show, and we could just
butcher their names all day long. All right, real quick, another business note. I don't know if you saw this, Matt, but the numbers came out for Johnson Outdoors, the makers of Humminbird and Minn Kota. Oh my gosh, dude!
For freaking like a year and a half, so people have been waiting for those units.
They crushed it.
Because I know the guys at the Bass Tank are like, yeah, that's like 6 months out on a bunch of. I mean, they've been like, we can't get them.
Yeah, in this story that appeared on several financial periodicals and websites, it said net sales reached $213.6 million compared to $138.4 million the same quarter last year. It was like a 51% increase due to the high demand across Minn Kota and Humminbird products.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. Total company profit during the quarter was $38.1 million against $12.9 million in the third quarter a year ago.
This is crazy. And what do they not have, or up until very recently?
Yeah.
Forward-facing sonar.
Yeah. So I can't imagine what's going to happen. Now the big challenge, and obviously the CEO, we're talking about CEOs. The big challenge is, how do they keep the momentum with all of the challenges that they have as a company? The logistics, the interruption as far as the demand for products and everything from a staffing standpoint. That's one thing we don't really hear a lot in this industry. Is we hear a lot of other industries dealing with the labor force and all the issues with the labor force, but that is an issue in this industry with certain companies. But as far as numbers, dude, man, if you're a CEO and you see those numbers,
You gotta be happy.
Wow. You're just blown away. That's like going out and catching 28 pounds of smallmouth.
That is.
It's crazy.
Speaking of fish, there actually is a fishing event that is going on right now. The 2021 Tackle Warehouse title is going on out of La Crosse. So I think it's 50 guys, and it's, basically the second year that they've replaced the Forest Wood Cup with the title here. I think Rusty got the belt last year. But 2 groups of 25 guys, and they're doing it Major League Fishing style, and it looks pretty darn tough right now, based on everything that they've had. But currently leading it is Jacopo Galeli. Remember him from the last? He qualified for the last MLF Bass Pro Tour event. So maybe a international star in the making if he can hang on for it. It's like a 6 or 7 day tournament. So
how do you say his last name again? I'll butcher that one too.
Jacopo Galeli.
Galeli.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
I'm 99% sure I got that one right.
We need to try and get him on the show.
Yeah, that was another guest idea that someone had sent in. Like I said, a lot of great guest ideas that people have sent in that we're working on, or that I'm working on, kind of getting shored up. Also, it'll be kind of an interesting month next month as far as shows and guests. You're going to have some guest hosts in.
Yeah, because you're going to be on the road for quite some time. For 3 weeks.
We definitely need to get Mean Gene in the mix too. He's got some big things coming up.
Yeah. Talking about Gene Gilliland, the fisheries biologist, director of conservation for
Bass. You've had him in studio guest host before, right?
Oh, yeah. He's really, really good. So different kind of take on a lot of stuff. Hey, I will say this too. A lot of comments on the YouTube comments and on the instant feedback. One of the biggest challenges is that 500,000 number for the CEO, the new CEO, or whoever they're going to select. How many years has that 500,000 number been
as
pretty
far as
stagnant?
members of B.A.S.S. to where they say, 500,000 members.
Yeah.
It's since I've been a kid, I feel like it's been like that.
Yeah. How do you grow the brand? How do you grow the membership? And I think more importantly, what additional benefits can you offer the membership? Because primarily it's been, there's been some increases here and there, but for the most part, it's been pretty much the same thing for a long, long, long time. And I've said this all along. It doesn't matter what business you're in. Take care of your people, take care of your customers, and take care of the brand. And I think that whoever they bring in, they do that. Really got to take care of the membership, though. The membership, there's been a lot of people out there that have been very loyal to the 4 letters and the brand. So we'll see, man. It's going to be a really, really, really interesting take on what happens.
Is this like a level where
what's going on?
It wasn't Bruce, and Bruce hasn't been involved in like Fortune 500 companies and stuff like that in the past?
Yeah.
Is this like considered a big CEO job?
No, it's like the industry itself. I'm telling you, dude, we're the swimming pool. Everybody else is the ocean.
Okay.
It's the best way I can describe it.
But I mean, dude, it feels like this would be like it's just assuming, Chase might just do it for the next 20 years. Who knows?
He could.
Assuming they're going to find someone else.
Yeah, he could. Very well, and he's
good or bad for Bass, or just natural.
I think unknown.
Okay.
I really do. I think it's an unknown thing. I just that position, I truly believe, takes a good mix between being a people person, a great leader, a good communicator, and I think you need a little dash of knowing what's going on in the industry.
In your opinion, who is the most famous? Who is if you had to pick a CEO that you looked up to, since you're in the business world, right? So people look at that like CEOs are like Wayne Gretzky and Crosby and hockey. Don't people in the business world look at CEOs like athletes almost?
Sometimes. Sometimes they do.
Who are some of your top CEOs in your life?
Well, this is
that's a good CEO.
This is kind of a cop-out, but I'm going to say it. The guy, Jim Casey, who was the longtime CEO for UPS, And the reason I say Jim Casey is because obviously I was familiar with his management practices and his theory, and there's been books written about the guy. There was actually a class back in the younger days of my management career that taught about the fundamental management style that Jim Casey had. And his number one thing, dude, was accountability. And that was a huge, huge thing with all the management and the hourly people, was the accountability. And I think his time has went on, and different people have been in there. You know, this year's the first time that UPS has ever had a CEO that didn't work for the company, that came from the outside. So Jim Casey was one. I'll tell you, in the early years too, I thought Mark Cuban was very, very, very smart, because I became intrigued with Mark Cuban when he started broadcast.com. You know, that's how he made all his money. He sold broadcast.com to Yahoo for a gazillion dollars, and that's how he made all of his money. But him and his college buddies had a vision of being able to listen to college basketball games on the internet. And that's what he came up with. Now, some of the things that he's done throughout his CEO career, I'm just like shaking my head going, dude, what are you doing? But in the early stages of his career, the creativeness and the ingenuity that dude had, the vision was unbelievable. So, yeah, you know, and Brian made the point on the comments. Yeah, the last two UPS CEOs started as package handlers. That's right. You know, like I said, this current CEO, and I don't even remember her name, but she never had any experience in UPS. Wasn't a driver, wasn't anything. Came from the outside. So a couple of people, you know, a lot of whoever you follow, be it whatever, why do people follow certain anglers? It's because they have interest, because they want to get better, you know, maybe tournament fishing, but they really like that angler style, both on and off the water. I got a huge amount of email responses about the Jacob Wheeler interview that we did yesterday. And I think people are finally truly understanding the greatness that Jacob Wheeler has displayed on and off the water. A number of comments were sent to me, Matt, about how Jacob conducts himself off the water, with stories about meeting him at events and at the Classic and this and that. So it's hard to define an in-between on what people like, but it does exist. But I think in this game of professional fishing, people are attracted to anglers from a fan perspective, that they see some type of interest and similarity in what those anglers accomplish, both on and off the water. Am I wrong on that?
No, that's a very good assessment.
Yeah. So speaking of superstars, we've got one coming up, man.
2 wins this year.
Yeah.
And, I know that? I went back and I clicked on each individual tournament and then saw who finished first in it, and twice Ott DeFoe's name was there.
Hey, by the way, I've got good news for you, Matthew. They are working on getting what you have been requesting for years.
Not
over on
years.
the MLF.
Just
months,
the last
years?
Year. Yeah, the last year.
Yeah. They're working on that, dude.
I wasn't trying to I probably came off a little strong. I went on a 3-minute rant right off the hopper.
It was good. It was pretty epic. It was.
I'm just saying.
Unlike you.
Way past due.
Yeah.
And you can point a finger and say, that's your job to have those stats on this website. Put them up there. Well, did you see what B.A.S.S did?
No.
You can now click on B.A.S.'s stuff, and it'll show you every single place where they finish in the Angler of the Year, every single event, and how many Angler of the Year points they got in it, and whether they rose or dropped. It's freaking awesome.
All right, man. It's coming. All right. And I hope to have maybe later in the week a definite, at least close to date. that information is going to be
Apparently
updated.
It's just a total debacle to try to get that into the system. It must be some sort of.
It's not easy. It's not easy, dude. Nothing's easy. Jeez.
I just don't know how they can have my BFL stats from 2013 and they don't.
I can explain that.
You want me stats from last week?
You want me to explain that? It's called import, because they had that data already from all of the FLW stuff, and they just imported the data. All right, all the stuff that's being done on the BPT is new data, so they're trying to configure the system to be able to accept all the statistical data in the format that's required.
They could find a statistics CEO to handle that.
That's got nothing to do with it, man. That has absolutely nothing to do with it. So, hey, real quick, and then we're going to take a break and come back with Ott. Last night, Frank Scalish, the Day 4 man.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Had a, there you have it, had a locker room session with a gentleman from Canada. All right, his name is Ben. And, Matt, I had no idea. First of all, this dude did his homework. It was so impressive, the amount of time that this guy took to prepare for his hour-long session with Frank. He had maps, he had notes, he had bullet points, and it was amazing. Here's the other thing. I'm an idiot because I never really looked at the lake structure in Canada, like right above the Great Lakes.
Yeah.
Dude, there are lakes everywhere.
Yeah, that's why everyone goes to Canada to go fishing in the summertime.
Everywhere. But to hear Frank describe, by looking at these maps and the contour lines and what stuff to look for, it was priceless. But I'm serious, dude. I had no idea. I knew there was a lot of water up there,
Dude,
but I had no.
Massive.
Oh. He was in like a 2-hour driving range of 30 different bodies of water.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
There's tons of stuff up there.
And they're all jacked with largemouth and smallmouth. Mainly smallmouth, but some largemouth. They got grass. And no wonder the Johnson brothers are so good, man. All that stuff to fish up there, jeez. It was impressive. So a big shout out to Ben. Ben did a fantastic job. And for those people that have signed up for a session, we're getting to you, dude. Look, it's kind of a lot of people. So we're getting there.
That's going well.
We're trying. We're trying to do everything we can do. All right, man. Anything else? Are you ready to take a break?
I'm ready to take a break and see what Ott has to say after Jacob Wheeler yesterday kind of put him on blast.
Yeah. We'll see what the man has to say. Everybody stay tuned here on a Tuesday.
Elite FS puts the full range of Lowrance fish finding tools at your fingertips. Find fish with active imaging 3-in-1 with Fish Reveal. Target fish with active target live sonar and watch fish react to your lure as it happens. Built-in C-Map Contour Plus charts make it easy to find key fishing areas. But best-in-class charts and powerful sonar is only the beginning. It's easy to build your fully networked FS system. From sonar and waypoint sharing to controlling the Ghost trolling motor and power poles. Lowrance Elite FS. Targeting fish just got easier.
BassCat's legendary 20-foot platform has been paired with angler-approved accessories for 2021. Puma FTD features the proven hull used by many of the top names in bass fishing today, backed by a transferable lifetime warranty. The Puma FTD boasts a full team deck concept which enhances efficiency for you and your tournament partners. Turnkey tournament-winning performance. The Puma FTD SP from BassCat.
Let's face it, fishing electronics are no longer an afterthought. They've become a necessity. And at the Bass Tank, our experts match you with the right electronics, provide professional installation, and educate you to help maximize your catching results while providing support along the way. Because let's be honest, it's about catching, not just fishing. And when you're ready for better results, join the Bass Tank team. Visit us today on Facebook or go to thebasstank.com.
Preparation is key to success. And and that preparation starts well before you ever hit the water. You're only as strong as your connection to the fish, and your line is that critical connection. Confidence in your line every minute of every day on the water is a necessity, and failure, it's not an option. Sunline makes the fluorocarbon, nylon, and braided lines to give you the strength to guarantee your confidence.
There's one.
You know what works. Now you need a bunch of them so you don't run out on your next fishing trip. The Big Bite Pro Packs feature 25 baits per pack at a price far below that of having to buy 5 packs of regular baits. Now the Pro Pack has a big brother, the Mega Pack. The Mega Pack features 100 of your favorite baits.
With these, one bag is usually plenty to get through the day. It helps me stay organized, helps me save money, helps me catch more fish.
All of us on the Pro Tournament Trail use Gamakatsu hooks. Why? Because they are absolutely the best.
It's not about how many bites you get.
It's how many you put in the boat.
Gamakatsu makes hooks for every fishing style.
We didn't come this far to lose fish.
Did you?
For more information, visit gamakatsu.com.
All right, we are back on a Tuesday.
Did you see, I saw that Big Bite commercial there, right?
Yeah.
Did you see they came out with the BTL color in the Yo Mama?
No, really?
So yeah, now it's not only in the BFE, it's also in the Yo Mama, and I believe it might even be in the Fighting Frog.
Wow, you got to check that out. I had no idea. That's
really
cool.
Yeah, and the Yo Mama, because there's a lot of a lot of horizontal plastic, I guess is a weird way to put it, but yeah, it looks cool with the June bug, chartreuse streak, and then the black on the other side.
All right, very nice.
So it's like a colored BTL. It's like a color across multiple platforms now.
It catches fish. Oh, geez. All right, speaking of catching fish, it is time to go to our special guest, and he does that quite a bit, Matthew.
Ott?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been doing it forever, too.
Yeah. All right, let's bring him in here. Ott, how you doing, man?
I'm good, guys. How are y'all?
Doing fantastic, man. Appreciate you taking time out, but I got to tell you, man, we had Jacob Wheeler on yesterday, and he's gunning for you, dude. He said, bring it.
Yeah. I wouldn't expect any less out of him. Y'all were talking a little bit ago, and Matt, made reference of saying I'd won 2 events this year, but I'd still playing second fiddle, to Jacob at this point. So, but yeah, we've got one more left, and I could even the score, and if if I can just make the top 10 there, I'll lock him out of that points title. So that's definitely my big goal for the year, no doubt about it.
All right, what has been special about this year, Ott? Is there one situation or something that you went through either on or off the water that's really been special for you this year?
It's weird because, Rayburn, I had a good feeling about doing well. I didn't expect to win by any means, but I had found a crazy little school of fish that was just, it was nuts how many were in this little bitty tiny area. And I thought I could have a good event there, but that's kind of what I had. And, it ended up actually basically just that in and of itself be enough to win. But, the next event at Travis was okay. I just kind of fumbled my way through that one and had an okay finish. Really just had some Dunley type stuff happen. I caught the biggest fish I caught there, 4.5 pounder or something, literally on the trolling motor on high, just throwing a Ned rig out in front of the boat, and I reel it up, and the biggest fish I caught the whole week was swimming off with it. And I actually caught the same fish a couple days apart under a boat dock. I know it was the same one. It weighed 313, a really dark fish under this exact boat dock. I know it was the same fish. I caught it the first day and maybe the third day or something. But just stuff like that, that I didn't win, but it just helped me have a decent finish. But then the Harris chain to have stunk so bad the first day is the reason I won, because I didn't go back to where I was fishing at. I completely changed it up and ended up finding the place that wins. Chickamauga, I wasn't on anything. literally started practicing an hour into the tournament. I had run through what little bit I had. An hour in, I start idling, start graphing, and end up having a 20th place finish or whatever it was, So it, man, every event to Champlain, St. Lawrence was solid. Thought I would have a decent event there, but then at Champlain really didn't have a great practice, and I typically don't ever fish on the south end of the lake. I had went down there. I spent 10 hours down there one day of practice and got on a decent deal, and it ended up unbelievably to me to be third place in the whole tournament. So, yeah, it's just some of those times when you take a risk and it works out. Sometimes when it's like you kind of play it safe and it works out, and those have just landed at the right time.
Matt?
Was it hard going to Thousand Islands and trying to gauge on what would be good there? It seemed like some of you guys really figured out how to take advantage of that, and there were some guys who really struggled.
Yeah, we knew going there it was going to be ridiculous. Almost certainly the best we'd ever seen. And what little bit of history we've got, we really only had one smallmouth tournament prior to that one, being at Sturgeon Bay last year, and that one took like 40 pounds a day to make it. So we kind of looked for me, I kind of looked at that, and I'm like, St. Lawrence, Thousand Islands is for sure a better fishery than Sturgeon Bay. Plus, we're there when they're spawning, so it's not like I was mostly fishing post spawners, but I wasn't flogging underwater viewing, but a lot of guys, we knew that guys were going to catch them that way, so it's like it's going to be better than Sturgeon Bay. But is that 60 pounds a day to make it? Is it 70? Is it just 50? But man, 50 pounds a day for 20 guys to catch that, dude, you can't have any dead time. I mean, it's not easy to catch 50 pounds a day in 7.5 hours, incurring penalties, adding any run time. You're catching a fish every like 8 to 12 minutes or something, to do that. So it's mechanically, it gets difficult once you get to that to catch much more than that.
Would you say that there's a group of you guys who have kind of separated yourself on the BPT, who kind of have a better understanding of what you're looking for to make top 20s? Because I mean, it's hard to make a top 20 in this deal. You could look at it and say, oh, it's easy to make, but it's hard because you're having to find groups of fish every day for 3 consecutive days to have a top 20 finish.
Yeah.
And would you say it seems like there's the same group of guys who are always kind of up there, and then you'll see other guys, but I mean,
yeah, there definitely is a group that seems to excel at this better, just like there was in five fish. Though I mean, you could make that exact same argument about guys when you're targeting 5, and what we had all done, up until 3 seasons ago, that there was a group that were almost always in that top 20. But it certainly does seem to be that way, with the Bass Pro Tour as well, that there's definitely a group of guys where you expect them to be in the top 20. If you've got 7 events, 5 of them, you expect them to be in that, in that top 20. It just, whether it's this format suits them better than 5 did, or they're just the cream of the crop fish, whatever it is, that those guys are definitely the ones you expect to see there, time in and time out. But it's, people ask all the time, they're like, which one do you like better? I like what we do better. I enjoy it more. I love the fact that every fish does count. I love the fact that I won the Sam Rayburn tournament, and my biggest fish the whole week was a 3.5 pounder. I mean, that it just it is what it is, dude. I mean, but I caught more bass over 2 pounds, but I never caught any real big ones. But I love that about our format, because I feel like you get those, and I won. I mean, I think of the elite that I won on the Mississippi River. I was catching good numbers of fish, but dude, I caught a 6 pounder in La Crosse, Wisconsin. I probably should win. That's just the way that works, because of that one key bite in that format goes so much further. So I've benefited from it both ways, but I enjoy what we do. I really, really do.
It looks like it looks like 6 pounds might win the title on lacrosse this week based on the weights on day one. It is stingy right now.
Yeah.
Is it really? Yeah. I like that place. I've had obviously a really good tournament or two there, and I've had some not so great ones, but it can be a fun place to fish.
Yeah. Hey, from the comments on the YouTube page, Chuck's he wants to know, do you think it's an advantage or disadvantage to skip the knockout round when you win the qualifying round? What are your thoughts?
I've seen it work both ways, and just looking at the 2 wins this year, the first one at Sam Rayburn, the only reason I won the final day was because I skipped the knockout round, because I had a couple key little schools of fish. I say that it always could have worked out, any other way, but I feel like having those key little schools of fish, I didn't have to beat up on them on the knockout day, then go back the very next day in the championship round and try to catch them again. Those fish were I was actually Group A, so those fish weren't messed with for 2 days, and then I went back out. Now I had a couple other areas that I had to kind of refine. Those fish moved around in some other areas, but the one key spot that I had, I feel like I won that event because I didn't have to fish the knockout round. Now you go to Harris Chain, those fish kind of moved around a little bit, and I fishing on that day, for one, on the knockout day, Andy Montgomery and I and another guy or two, Brent Chapman, fished that area some. James Watson fished it some. Being there on the knockout day kind of in some ways established my territory. So when we went back on the championship day, it was kind of, this is kind of the zone that I'm primarily focused in. I kind of had that stretch to myself, but then I was actually able to expand on it on the championship day, fish water I hadn't been fishing because I knew how much it had been beat. So there's no doubt. I know Jacob told me, we talk a lot, and he was like, hands down, no question, the only reason he won at Lake Travis was because he did fish the knockout day, and was kind of the same deal. He was able to fish that area and keep other anglers from fishing it or being able to rotate as much, and then them both making the championship and having to split on that final day. So it's you never, going at the start of the event, you don't really know just which way it's going to work out, but there are benefits to both. It just depends on the situation.
Matt?
Jacob mentioned that he talked to you on the phone a lot, just kind of, you guys have gone back and forth on it. Just kind of break down what it's been like battling with him. Obviously, Brent Ayler is in the mix still too. You can't count him out. You guys, some reason, struggle. He could move up. But, I mean, 5 of the, 6 or 7 stops so far have been either you or Jacob Wheeler. You guys have all been up there. I think Wheeler had one bad one.
Thankfully,
just kind of talk about feeding off of his momentum when he wins 3 and staying up there, and kind of what you guys talk about when you talk. I mean, you're 2 of the hottest guys going right now in the entire sport, and what that relationship has been like.
Yeah, it's funny because we've been friends for a long time, and I mean, we'll still, like, during practice, we don't share a lot. We can talk now on the BPT this year. Talk general fishing information, and he and I will talk a lot about what the cutway is going to be, and kind of just generally, if we've had a good practice, a bad practice, we're not going to tell each other, hey, you need to go back in the creek and flip wood in dirty water or anything like that. But but we do talk about just kind of generally what the fishing is going to be, what we expect of the event. Is it going to be a really big weight or not? Because we both, largely, we trust each other. I mean, I've got, Jacob is one of, a few guys out there that'll trust Andy being more than anybody. But we trust each other, and we trust each other's judgment on it. We're like, man, if it's going to, at this last one at Champlain, we were like, it's going to take 25 or 30 pounds to make the cut. Well, one group took 50, one group took 60. So we were right on the money there. But it is fishing against him and the way he's fishing right now, and Brent as well. Like you said, I mean, Brent I think has made 4 of the 6 top 10s. I've actually only made 3, but my other 3 were not bad finishes. But I mean, anytime you're fishing against somebody who is fishing so well, that you can't slip up. I had done an interview with Major League Fishing before this last event, and they had asked, what I thought I needed to do to hold on to win the points, and I was like, bare minimum, I can't have worse than a 20th place finish, and one of them's probably got to be a top 10. Well, we all 3 just made the top 10 in this last one, I don't doubt they're going to make it, that the two of them's going to make it in the next one. So, I mean, I can't finish worse than 12th or 13th and have a chance, in my opinion, to hold on to it for this next event. So that's when you're fishing against guys that good. I can't go out there and just say, man, if I can make the knockout round, it's all going to be good, because it ain't. I really got to fish to try to win. And when somebody's pushing you that hard, it makes you say, this ain't good enough in practice, or that ain't good enough. I've got to go for everything I can do.
On the water, what is one thing that really impresses you about Wheeler that you think he is better than you at? Like, what is one thing you go, man, I wish I, and then vice versa, what is one thing where you think you might have the edge over Jacob in?
I don't know what it'd possibly be on the second one. On him, it's really easy for me to point at him and be like, that's, these are a few attributes that he's really, really good at. A large one would be the amount of time he's had with a forward-facing. I've got 360. We've had that forward-facing type stuff, but a live sonar type stuff. He's just had so much time with that, with different units, and really knows how to exploit that really, really well, just like we saw in this last event. He is really hasn't gotten the credit for that and how much time he spent with it, but his knowledge with that and ability to use it is really, far past what mine is at this point. But a big thing with Jacob is, dude, for me, I like to practice. I don't practice 12 hours a day. That's just not the way I'm wired. I'm about a 10 or 11 hour practice day guy. The second day we have to be off the water at 6 p.m. You can start, 30 minutes before sunrise. But if our events like this last one, I think the next one's the same way. Lines in at 9 a.m., lines out at 5 p.m. So much changes. That is a total different bite most times at 7 a.m. than it is at 9 or than it is at 11. And it's a completely different bite at 4 p.m. than it is at 6 or 7 p.m. So anymore, I try not to practice too far outside of our tournament hours, and no more than an hour either side of that. So I'm personally, intentionally limiting the amount of practice time that I get, but to where it's more geared right around that time when we're actually competing. Used to, way back in the day, the daylight to dark stuff, that's what I did. That's what I thought you needed to do. I've seen so many times where you get on this just unbelievable bite, whether it's super early or super late. And with our format, you're not going to be on that super early stuff. And man, it can absolutely burn you. You spend time trying to catch these fish that they're just either not there, they're not in this position, or time of day's wrong. So that's a big thing that he does. And he's able to capitalize on that. For me, that's something that I don't do well. So I would go to you all to ask what you thought was something I could do better than him, because I don't know what it would.
Well, just as an overall better shallow water angler, would you say you're more confident? It seems like he's a lot of out and relying on isolated spots and stuff, whereas you do a really good job of covering water and maximizing your bites in areas. Is that a fair assessment?
That would probably be a good one. Yeah, I do. I like to get in an area where prime example, and the only reason I'm leading him in the points right now, where I won at the Harris Chain, he fished that area the first day of the tournament.
That's what he said.
He had fish on there. He caught a few, but I don't know if now it was super windy that day. I actually went back and watched this video on it. He caught some stripers. He caught a few bass, but it was super, super windy. The days I fished there, every day it was completely slick. So completely different conditions. I have no idea if I'd have caught anything there on the day that he fished there. But he didn't pick up on the fact of just how many bass were there. Again, completely different conditions. I may not have either. But I feel like that is something that I am able to figure out pretty well. I'm not going to say I'm better at it than him by any means, but that's something that I feel like I've always been good at. And this last event at Champlain was really a factor of that for me, because there was a day of practice that I spent down there, and this one little zone, I got in there and I caught like 3, boom, boom, boom. I work away from it and I catch a couple more. The further away from it I get less bites. This sounds pretty elementary and anybody should pick up on it, but I spend half the day everywhere else, and I come back to within a quarter of a mile of where I caught those, and boom, boom, catch a couple more. So I'm like, dude, this 2 miles of river right here has got them, and it did. I mean, that's basically where I spent the whole tournament, was in like a 2 mile stretch, and just found as much stuff as I could. So maximizing an area, like what you're saying, that is something that I feel like is a strength of mine.
Hey, Anthony on the comments says that you're probably a better dart player than Wheeler.
I don't know about that. We've never played, but I did. Now, one time we were at a cup event in Oklahoma a couple years ago, and there was a basketball court set up outside. And I'm no basketball player, but we played knockout, and I beat Jacob Wheeler, I beat Jordan Lee, and I beat Jason Christie. So that's like a big feather in my hat.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
that's a big win there.
A big win. Yep. Yep.
All right, man. A lot of people want to know, what are your thoughts on St. Clair? And an interesting question, too, without looking it up. I haven't even looked. And this suggestion was, off the top of your head, what can you say about your history on St. Clair?
My history on Lake St. Clair. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We'll start there. It's never been a place that's been great to me. I think the last event we had there, I'm going to say ended up 15th without looking it up. Far and away the best event I've ever had there. It's just, man, for me, I like to fish stuff that makes sense. And not a lot on Lake St. Clair truly makes sense as to where those fish are. They're not on rocks. They're not on, big clumps of grass or anything. They're just kind of out there swimming around in the current wherever they want to be. And they'll be here today and they'll be over yonder tomorrow. Which is why, since we've got live, sonar stuff, that the guys who have done well with that the last couple of years, there seems like far and away, it's not even comparable to guys who haven't had it. So I'm glad that we've got that now. But yeah, that it's never been a place that I've been a huge fan of. But you can stumble up on a big load of them there just as well as you can anywhere. So it should be a great tournament is what I like about it. I think it'll be an interesting tournament, and it's going to be one of those you better catch them every single day. If it took 25 and 30 pounds a day to make it at Champlain, and last year it took 40 at Sturgeon Bay, probably going to be in that 30 to 40 range per day. To make the knockout would be my guess.
All right, what's the one more follow-up, Matt. What's the situation with Canada?
Yeah, so the deal with Canadian waters, like the Toyota coming up on the St. Lawrence River here this next week, those guys are able to fish Canada, but there's no live stream at all. The deal with us for Canadian waters, we can't go, and it's largely a streaming part of it. That's such a key part of our format of our ingredient of our product that if they started pinging off of those Canadian towers for our live coverage, it's going to get really expensive really fast. So we can fish up to the mouth of Huron, just barely in the mouth of Huron. We can fish that river coming back down to St. Clair, and even in the rivers, U.S. side only. Lake St. Clair, U.S. side only. Detroit River, U.S. side only. You get down to Erie and you can fish the Michigan waters of Lake Erie. That's our playing field. So still, it's the most we've got on the water in a day is 40 guys. That's plenty. You can tell us you can fish the rivers and only the U.S. side of St. Clair, and you'd still have plenty of water. So
all right, Matt.
But are you guys able to? So this is something that I don't think has really been picked up on a lot, which is massive, which is you guys were able to trailer at Champlain. Are you going to be able to trailer at St. Clair as well, or is that just going to be dependent on weather? Because here's all I'm saying is, you guys have limited practice anyway, right? You said you had to be off the water. How much you have, 2.5 days or a day and a half?
You got a daylight to dark and then daylight to 6 p.m. So
you have less than 2 full days, right? So if you were told on Lake Champlain, hey, you can trailer in the tournament anywhere. You want to drive to Ticonderoga and put in, it doesn't matter if it's blowing 50. You can go fish Ticonderoga. You want to go to the other end and put in, you can do that. So now, in a typical where you're taken out and you have to be back by a certain time, you can eliminate, you can look at the weather map and you can typically eliminate
part of it.
80 miles of all this stuff. There's no way I'm going to be able to get there. Now with this, you're like, with half as much practice and 10 times as much water, especially on these northern fisheries. Talk about how that, I mean.
Yeah. So a little clarity on that first. So on Champlain, okay, we had a zone A and a zone B. Zone A was the northern zone, which was Plattsburgh. You actually, it went south of Plattsburgh, maybe 10 or 15 miles, and then there was a line from there to Burlington, Vermont. Okay, if you were in that zone, they called that zone A. Actually, from Burlington south to just above the Crown Point Bridge was a no zone. Nobody was allowed to fish at all. Okay, so that's whatever that is, 30, 40 miles of the lake, which is kind of, nobody fishes there, generally speaking. You know, not a lot of big bays. People just don't fish there. Zone B was Ticonderoga, which was, like 5 miles maybe north of the Crown Point Bridge. From there, as far south as you wanted to go. Okay, the way it worked, Zone A was planned to be take off from Plattsburgh, and then you go by water, except if it got really windy. But if you were fishing Zone B, the southern zone, you had to trailer. You could not run it by water. You must trailer down there, put in somewhere there, and then you could fish, go wherever you wanted to go south in that zone. So that's why anybody every day that went to Ticonderoga, you had to go on the truck. There was only one day of the event, which was the knockout day, that the northern zone, that the whole event became a trailer event because forecast was worse that day. It ended up kind of backing off and not being so bad. Championship day actually was pretty rough. Probably should have swapped the two, but was what it was. So that was the deal. So at any event, or Lake St. Clair, it's going to go back to just like, a normal event, which is it will be a standard takeoff unless the winds are like, hey, we'd have to cancel. We can either trailer or cancel. Then they'll opt to trailer. You can put in wherever you want and then go from there. So, but it does exactly do what you're saying, because if it's calm, yeah, no big deal to run 60 miles. But if it's rough, well, you're going to get to drive it in the truck. So it does allow all that water to open up, because you're like, you can look at it. If it's going to be a bad day, they're going to make it a trailer event. So all the water does essentially stay in play. That way you don't ever eliminate anything, due to the wind because of that, which is, that's nice, to be able to say, hey, all this water's in play and you're going to be able to use it all basically at any point in time.
All right, man. A number of people.
I feel like that made 100% sense. And the fact of the matter is, I know a lot of tournaments in Oklahoma. There's big team tournaments on Grand, on Eufaula. They will make it trailering events.
Yeah.
The night before the tournament. I mean, haven't you been in those, Mark? On some of the Nichols and Skeeter and stuff. They'll be like, hey, it's a trailering event, and that's just for the win, for safety reasons.
Yeah.
Instead of canceling the dang thing.
Right. Yep. All right. Good info there. Ott, a number of people want to know, bait-wise, what do you got, man? What can you show us? You got anything new coming out? What's the scoop?
Yeah. So at Champlain, it was an OG party for me. That was, I caught some fish on the Texas rig, but my Slim, which was a big part of the win down there at let's see, right there we go. Big part of the win in Florida, of all places. I threw that Helsinki shad color some on the last day. I was throwing brim and a hot copper green shad, which are both new colors. But then the other one that was the coming out party for, and that's what's funny to me. I mean, both of these flat side crankbaits. Who would have thought that I'd been talking about catching them on a flat side at the Harris Chain in Florida in May, or Lake Champlain in August? I think if I was going to talk about a flat side, it'd be like at Red Crest at Grand, or at Lake Eufaula in February, or something like that. But Tiny is the newest member. It was released, right there around the ICAST and stuff. But a real thin, the next one in the OG lineup, and that is the bait. I don't know if you can see good enough on that of the how much paint he's had knocked off of him, but and then scuff marks and stuff. But that little dude right there, I mean, it's a small bait. It's like 2 1/4 inches or something, 3/8 thick. It is a small bait. Still cast good on bait casting gear, but one day I had like a 413 or 414 on that, and I had a couple more, nearly 4-pounders on that little dude. But those were two of the big baits for me up there last week. But that new one, that little OG Tiny, is Slim is an unbelievable bait and has such a great place in every angler's tackle box. It really hurt to let the world have Tiny. There's just no other way to put it. It really does, because it is a fish catching son of a gun. When Dan Quinn was here with Rapala, and we were filming some product video and stuff with it, I'm up front fishing with the new DT8 or Slim or whatever else, and doing the stuff that we're doing. He's in the back throwing that around, and I'm on the front. We're on Douglas Lake, like I'm picking this stuff apart the way I want to fish it, and he's just dragging around behind the boat, throwing it whatever. He's catching as many as I was on that behind me as I'm catching off the front, picking everything apart. He's like, man, this thing's like a Hoover vacuum. It just cleans up everything. Yeah, it's a pretty good little dude.
All right, a couple of questions from the comments. Eric wants to know, if you could only have 2 colors for the OG Slim, what would they be?
2 colors. I would do green gizzard and the original crawdad, like the old school Shadrach crawdad color. That's just the old school CW. Those would be the 2, because that'd give you a clear water, it'd give you, something you can use in off-colored water. That would be my 2. Yeah, but right. 2's not enough.
2's not enough. No.
But if you're going to get 2, I'd be there.
All right, there you have it. And then Steven wants to know, do you use any type of snap or quick release snap on your crankbaits?
I do from time to time. Both of these are tied just right to the split ring. That's how I've got both of those tied. I'll on occasion I'll use a snap, and sometimes I don't. It's to whatever your preference is. That there's certainly not a negative to using one. But if you are going to use it, don't use both. And that's probably what keeps me from using one as much as anything, because I'd have to go through my crankbait box and take the front one off of every single bait. But you don't use both. Don't use the split ring and the snap, because that wire is really thin, and you get started underneath of that, underneath that split ring and come off. And I don't. 2 of them, there's just so much movement up there. I'm not a fan of it. I've heard guys say that they catch more fish with both, but it's one or the other for me.
All right. Brian wants to know, how much work do you do with Terminator?
A lot. I do a lot of work with Terminator. Like that new Pro Series line of spinnerbaits, I designed all those. Pick the colors, blades, heads, wire, everything about that line of baits. It's something I've done. I've worked the swim jig. I worked with them a good bit on that new heavy duty swim jig. And we've got a new thing we're still working on. Guys have seen some teases of it a lot of what I've been using it in the Bass Pro Tour, but we've got that we're working on. We've been through several prototypes, but I keep breaking them, so we'll eventually get it right. It won't be out till it is right. But yeah, we work pretty close with them.
That Terminator spinnerbait was created here in Oklahoma by a dentist.
Yeah, the original. Yeah.
Didn't they have a deal where they put like an actual diamond in the eye of the spinnerbait, and there were like 10 of them, and you had like a chance of getting a Terminator spinnerbait that had like the real diamond in the eye, and it was like for one of their anniversary deals. Who would know? I mean, because
Duck
I feel like
that.
Duck would know that, because I feel like my buddy Chip's dad, who was a jeweler, Chip Corchet, fished the Elite Series back in 2013, who works for Dynamic now. I feel like his dad set the diamonds in the eyes of the spinnerbaits, because he was a jeweler at the time. Do you think we could? That'd be interesting. That'd be an interesting story.
I don't remember that.
I don't know why I would remember it if it wasn't true. That'd be a weird thing to make up.
Yeah, that rings a bell. It actually does. Yeah. I knew that was an Oklahoma-based company. Before Rapala BMC bought them and stuff. But that's those old turtleback Terminator blades. That was a big deal.
Interesting. All right, Matt. Anything else, dude?
I'm just curious, how many spinning rods do you have set up, rigged up, ready to roll for a northern event? Are you like a 3 or 4 rod guy, or do you have like a dozen of them?
Yeah, no, never a dozen. The most I typically ever have in the boat will be 6.
Okay.
No, never more than 7. Because man, I mean, if you got 2 drop shots, you got 2 wacky worms, a spy bait and a hair jig. I mean, how many spinning rods do you really,
I'm just curious. I'm asking you because your stuff. See, here's the problem. I'm buddies with Travis Manson, who also fished the Elite Series back in the day, and he carries like 26.
Overkill.
And has like 38 of them. So I was like, I need to start asking all these guys who are catching them really well up north, like to get to a reasonable number to where I feel like,
no,
I'm not
6,
undermanned, but I'm not like over.
6, I think, is plenty. And I actually I only carry 2. I carry 2 model like actions.
Mm-hmm.
Now I do have a third, but it's actually the same rod as far as length and action, but it's in a different line for Bass Pro. So I use a 7-1 medium light, and I use a 7-1 medium. I use that in the platinum, which is the red one, and I use it in the carbon light, which is a white one. I use a 7-1 medium light and the carbon light. So those are the 3 models: a 7-1 medium light and a carbon light, 7-1 medium light and medium and a platinum. That's the only 3 spinning rods I have. I don't have a 6.9 or 6.10. I don't have a 7.4 medium light and medium. That's it. All my spinning rod fishing is done with those 3 lengths, which are all the same length, but 2 different actions. The platinum is a little bit faster, even the medium light, where the carbon light's a little bit more parabolic. So like a spy bait and a hair jig, that stuff I typically throw on the carbon light. All my soft plastics I throw on those platinums. And man, for me, I've simplified that down. Now bait casters, I've got every action under the sun, every length, that kind of stuff. But on my spinning rod setups, dude, it's braid and a leader. It's 10-pound braid. It is. I never use 6. I'll use 8, 10. I'll use 12 on occasion, especially largemouth fishing, dirty water, or whatever. But for smallmouth, it's 8 or 10. 10-pound braid and a 7-1 something rod, whether it's a medium light or a medium. And everything I fish with, I know how to fish it on those 2 rods. So I keep that really, really simple.
I like it. Would you say a spinning rod is almost like a baseball glove? You get used to it. You get more. I don't know how to say this. It molds you. You learn. It's easier to switch bait casters than it is spinning rods and actions. Absolutely. Once you have that, if you're struggling learning how to get a spinning rod, find something you like and do not deviate from it, because you're able to do things with something that fits your hand and that you're used to better than any other type of rod or length. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's really, I think for even like a spy bait, I mean, that's something with treble hooks that I'll use on spinning rods. I'll occasionally throw a long crankbait, especially a shad wrap on a spinning rod. But it's not like you have a wide range of spectrum. It's not like I'm going to throw a 1-ounce swim bait or I'm going to throw a little tiny crankbait on it. It's pretty generalized, pretty similar weights, pretty similar sizes, always light line. So you don't need that big broad spectrum, in my opinion, with spinning rods like you do with bait casters. You can really keep it pretty simple because your line sizes are always really similar. Your bait sizes are always really similar. You don't have that big range of spectrum like you do. So yeah, pick a length that you like for your height and for the most of the water you're going to be fishing. If you're always real tight quarters, then yeah, drop down to a 6.6 or 6.8 or 6.10 or whatever. If you're doing as much open water as you are, tight to cover, a 7-foot, 7.2 is as much, in my opinion, that you'll ever need. I mean, because with that braid, it doesn't matter if you throw 100 yards off of it and then it sinks 30 feet. It's just the same as you're setting the hook at the end of the rod, because there's no stretch. You reel up, you get tight, you hit him, you got him. There's just no reason to have to worry about using it. To me, I used to use a 7.4 and a 7.6 some, but I just don't anymore.
Yeah. Great stuff, Ott. And really appreciate you taking time out. And as always, man, the shop's looking good there, man. Very organized. Everything's in place. And a lot of comments about it, man.
It's what I'm showing you is pretty good anyway. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, best of luck to you at St. Clair, and hopefully we will definitely have you on the show very soon. after the conclusion of this year's tour. So best of luck to you, man.
Thank y'all very much. I always appreciate being on here. Y'all do a great job, and anytime, just holler at me. Always glad to come back.
All right, man. Take care, Rod.
Thanks. Yep. See ya.
All right, see you. All right, that's some great stuff there, Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. He's always kept it pretty simple, and when I was at, that's why I wanted to ask him about that spinning rod stuff. I mean, you look at his front deck and stuff; he's very efficient. It always seems like he's very efficient.
Yeah. Travis really has 30 spinning rods.
Yeah, I did a deal for Best on Tour on it. He rigs up like every day. He rigs up like 21 or some ridiculous amount, and they're all identical. He's got like 6 or 7 drop shots, 5 or 6 net. I mean, go to if you don't subscribe to bestontour.net.
No, I do. I do.
Go back and look at it. We did did a big feature with him. But now I know that the reason he probably made the Best on Tour was because that might be a little bit extreme.
26. Holy mackerel. All right, we're going to take a final break.
He carries like 18 to 21, but he has 26 rigs.
Okay. All right, we're going to take our final break. 26. Wow. All right, we'll take a break, come back, wrap things up here on a Tuesday. Everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The Little John family of crankbaits designed by top tour pro John Cruz have excelled at catching bass in any condition for years. They all feature a flat-sided design and paint jobs that are seldom seen in mass production bait. The Little John family also expands with new rattling versions of the Little John 50 and Little John 50 MD. Both of these baits are proven fish catchers that will now be available in rattling versions for stained and muddy water. They feature the same great action and diving depths as the original 50 and MD sizes.
The Ned rig. What rod should I be using with the Ned rig? My favorite is the Denali Lithium multi-spin rod. It's our 7'4" length, great Ned rig rod. It's got a great sensitive tip on it. It's long enough where I can make long casts, which you're usually fishing clear water with a Ned rig, and it's got enough backbone to get those fish in. So check it out, Denali Lithium Series 7'4" multi-spin.
I've been my living on the water for over 20 years.
For 14 years. For over 23 years.
I've worn a bunch of different clothing brands over the years.
Some companies big.
And some companies small.
All of them said they were making clothing for us.
But none of them knew us.
None of them were us. Except for one. Except for one.
Except one.
AFTCO.
AFTCO.
AFTCO. AFTCO.
Fishing isn't part of us. It is us.
Everyone, Brandon Polnick here. People always be asking me what I got tied on. I'm like, X-Zone lures. And they're like, Brandon, why you got X-Zone lures tied on? And I'm like, let me show you why.
The bite.
Get out of there. Get out of there. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's freaking big. Get in here. Oh, God. Giant. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh.
I think you get the point.
Everybody loves to chase bass on the water. But is your most valuable asset protected when it's not on the water? Empire Covers can preserve your bass boat against even the harshest conditions. When the storm is coming, that bass boat needs to be protected. Check out EmpireCovers.com for all your cover needs. Empire Covers is the ultimate solution when it comes to protecting that asset. Empire Covers is the ultimate solution in easy protection for your truck, for your boat, for your car, anything that needs to be protected from the elements. BTL listeners can receive free shipping plus an extra 15% off their entire order on EmpireCovers.com. Just use the promo code BTL at checkout. Empire Covers. Protect what you love.
Pro-inspired, pro-designed. Tested and proven by legends on the water. Dominating the tournament trail for over 50 years. Everything you need, one legendary brand. Strike King.
Hey guys, Major League Fishing Pro, Jacob Wheeler here with my new Signature Series line of rods with Duckett Fishing. We have my 7.2 cranking rod right here. Crankbaits can be very fickle, and having the right, having a lot of tip can be too much, and having not enough tip can, lose a lot of fish. So you really got to be careful. If there's one or two techniques that I'm really adamant about having the perfect action is a crankbait, especially like the square bill, a DT6, those medium running crankbaits in the springtime when those fish's mouth are pretty tough. That's when I'm really on top of having my actions just perfect.
All right, we are back, wrapping up Tuesday. Big thanks to Ott DeFoe for being part of the show today. Hey, real quick, and I'll get your take on this, Matt. Our good friend Frank taking a little heat on the comments, and I want to say this. Look, somebody made the comment of comparing Ott's stats to Frank's stats.
Frank.
And scalish.
No, well, that's apples to oranges.
I know. Well, this is what I want to say. When you take any sport, be it team or individual sports, how many coaches do you have that are like prime time, some of the greatest instructors and coaches in their field that never won a championship, that probably never hit 280, that probably didn't score 30 goals in a season, that probably never won a PGA Tour event, but they are great at the craft of helping individuals with their game.
Yeah, well, Frank also, if you look at certain fisheries and bodies of water, kicked everyone's butt at them. Lake Erie, northern fisheries, natural lakes, things like that, right?
But, and I agree with that. The point I'm trying to make is...
if we're doing a Tennessee River, and I might listen to Ott.
Yeah.
But up north, it's a totally different. It's totally different.
The amount of feedback that I've received with photos and stories of fans out there that have taken what Frank has done on day 4, and then a lot of the stuff in the locker rooms has been fantastic for these people.
Yeah,
they've caught fish that they've never caught before because of the instructions.
That you and Frank have pushed people to throw a Carolina rig? No, I feel like that's irresponsible. I feel like that has robbed them of joy on the water. But that's a personal opinion. But as a whole, outside of the Carolina rig advice, I feel like Frank has helped a lot of people catch fish.
No, think about it. Some of the hockey coaches that you've had over your years of playing hockey, a lot of those guys may or may not have helped you with your game. But if you think back to one maybe that helped you with your game, how great of a hockey player was. Did he play in the league? Did he play, in the WHA?
Yeah, he actually did.
Did he score 30 goals?
I don't know. My first coach in juniors was playing 3rd tier professional in Europe and got hit in the head with a puck.
Not
so
good.
He couldn't play anymore, so he had random bursts of rage and outbursts throughout the season. That's the honest to God truth. I had another coach that we were playing a men's league team, and our coach got in a fight with some dude on the men's league.
Okay, maybe
I had another coach who threatened to kill the rink manager, so we had to keep all of our stuff in our trucks, and we got kicked out of our locker room for the entire year.
Jeez. What, were you around psychotic coaches your entire hockey career?
That's just the world's junior hockey right there when you're playing in junior B hockey.
Yeah.
Those are all true stories. But yeah, no, I had some good coaches too also that did not play in the NHL. But Frank also played in the NHL.
He did. He did.
Forget that.
But he is a great, great coach and a great instructor when it comes to the stuff that he has passed along to a lot of the BTL viewers and listeners on this show. And then with the addition of the locker room. What's so funny?
I was just laughing. I mean, yeah, those are all true stories. That's actually happened.
Yeah. I never really had any psychotic coaches. Well, I had one. Coach Francisco. He was out there. It's the first time I ever seen a coach grab somebody by the face mask.
I got lifted up by my neck one time by a coach. Like, I got at the time, I didn't think anything of it. I was like, I probably need to quit.
Jeez. He lifted you up by the neck?
Yeah, I was upset with the scheduling.
Yeah.
It was like the last game of the season, and I was apparently unappreciative of the time and effort it took to put the schedule together for the year.
Wow. All right, man. Tomorrow, Clark Ream, what are we going to talk about?
Dude, Clark's got all sorts of stuff going on. He always does. He's always a great interview. I want to talk with him about carving out a career in this industry, doing a number of different things, not just on the water, but off of the water, helping people catch fish through a number of different avenues.
All right.
It'll
Should be
fun.
good. Yeah, he hasn't been on for a while.
No, we used to have him on a long time earlier. So, I mean, guy's been doing it forever now.
Yeah. Over 20 years. 20 years, is that about
I don't know
right?
about that. No, because I wouldn't say that. I don't know. When did I first start getting in? I mean, when I started getting in the college stuff, he was coming around doing it. So that would have been 2006, 2007, over 15.
Okay. It's a long time. Long time. All right. Great stuff, folks. Make sure you check back with us tomorrow, same time. And then Thursday, day 4 with Frank. Dude, he's already sent me drawings and maps and all kinds of stuff for Thursday's show. Might even be a 2-parter on this one. It's good stuff.
Very nice.
I don't know if you can use a spinning rod and reel, though.
Was it about Carolina rig?
No. Not at all. It's good stuff, though. Have to check it out on Thursday. All right, everybody. Thank you so much once again for all the feedback on the comments and the instant feedback. And if you get a chance, listen to the podcast on iTunes. Make sure you leave us a rating and leave us a review. It helps Matt and I out immensely. There's been some really good reviews, honest reviews, and Matt and I greatly appreciate that. It helps us out with the companies that support what Matt and I are doing here. So, all right, dude, we'll be back tomorrow. And better have that boat ready. Is the boat ready?
Yeah, the boat's ready because all I have to do is get like 6 spinning rods ready. It's spinning rods and drop shot weights and some bed heads, and I'm ready to go.
I think you need 26, though. You might have 26, man. Jeez.
Hey, here's the honest to God truth. I've got 6, but I have 2 reels that I had to borrow from Jared Miller.
Okay.
Well, I've got some borrowed reels, but I got
I'm sure they're good ones, though.
Yeah,
I'm sure they're really good, though.
They're stellas.
Oh, fantastic.
They're going to be really hard to get back.
That's some high-dollar stuff there. All right, everybody, be safe. Have a great Tuesday. That's it. We're out of here.